Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're listening to the podcast Capturing Magic. I'm Bill Rogers, the voice of Disney. Thanks very much for listening.
Welcome to Capturing Magic. I'm Steph from CapturingMagic.me and TheDailyDigi.com. I am here today with team member and writer at Capturing Magic, Stephanie Haining, who can also be found at HainingMade.com. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Thanks for being here today.
Of course.
Yeah. We have joining us for the very first time on this show, Allie Edwards, who can be found at AllieEdwards.com. Hi, Allie.
Hello.
Thanks
for having me.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's so exciting to me to finally have you on Capturing Magic because, you know, a couple years ago, I might not have thought that this would be the case.
I know. I'm a fan. I'm a total fan.
It's really exciting. It's been fun to see you catch the magic, catch the bug.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about you and introduce you to our audience that might not be familiar with you, because I know that we have lots of guys that listen and maybe some that aren't as into scrapbooking as the rest of us. Do you want to share a little bit about who you are and what you do and your site and all of that good stuff?
Sure. It's always hard to explain.
I know, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy thing. It's like, how do you tell someone what your job is when you sit next to them on the airplane? It's one of those,
in 140 characters or less.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. I mean, basically what I do are lots of things related to scrapbooking or memory keeping sorts of things. So that can be everything from designing products, digital or stamps, like acrylic stamps that people would use in crafting, to online classes that teach people how to create albums or to create scrapbook pages based on various themes and topics. And then I've had a blog for a long time, since about, I think 2004 is when I started my blog, that kind of combines lots of those things related to memory keeping, but also general life stuff. I mean, I use my blog as a place to actually document my own story along the way, or in addition to product promotion or things, talking about new products and things like that. But I haven't been involved in scrapbooking since 2003. That was when I started, and I've worked with some magazines, scrapbooking magazines, and designed products along the way. And let's see, what else do I do? Books. Yeah, I've written books about scrapbooking. So pretty much anything related to scrapbooking and photography and writing and memory keeping. Yeah.
Telling your story, basically.
Yeah. Really encouraging people to do that. Yeah. I think for me, it's definitely, I'm one of those people that focuses more on the words and the photos. That's kind of been my personal niche, in addition to using products as well. But mainly it's the focus on the story and how can you add more depth and detail by including more words along with your pictures. So,
yeah. And you have your blog and your site at AllieEdwards.com.
Yep.
And then people can find from there links to your digital products, physical, regular products, and your classes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Social media, everything else.
Yep.
You've got a lot of stuff going on there, and you're very busy and very inspiring as well. So we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Stopping in.
Yeah.
Happy to be here. One of the things that I really love about your blog is that you do a lot of memory keeping there as well, which I hope that we'll be able to get into a little bit today.
Yes.
We have a lot of listeners that have actually emailed in the last little while to share that they've started a blog as a way to document specifically their Disney trips. And so it's been fun to see how they're doing it.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely consider it to be, a form of scrapbooking / memory keeping. I mean, a lot of the, in scrapbooking, we call them layouts, but a lot of the layouts or things that I've made, the kind of the end product, the words have come from blog posts that I've done where I've been, documenting the trip or, doing just general writing about where I'm at in my life and those sorts of things that then become scrapbook pages that go into my actual scrapbooks. So
yeah. At the Daily Digi, I always define digital scrapbooking as any form of memory keeping that involves technology. And so to me, blogging definitely is a form of digital scrapbooking.
I agree.
Yeah, because it's the memories and everything there.
Yep.
Alrighty. So tell us a little bit about your history with Disney, because you have a long history with Disney, longer than I knew about.
I do kind of. Well, and it's funny because I actually think of myself as like an adult Disney person rather than a kid. I didn't go to Disney as a child. So we didn't do family trips. I live in the Pacific Northwest. So in Oregon and Washington is where I've grown up and lived. And that wasn't a piece of what my parents did. And we didn't go on trips on airplanes or those sorts of things, either like family vacation. If we went on a family vacation, we would drive somewhere, and that never included Disney. But actually my first time going to Disneyland was to Tokyo Disneyland. And that was when I was a freshman in high school. My dad was in the wood products business and traveled to Japan a couple times a year. And so I got to go with him by myself. I have two siblings. And part of what we did there is we went to Tokyo Disneyland. So that was actually my first actual live Disney experience. And then from there, I don't think I went again until I started traveling for scrapbooking and going to conventions. And a couple of those conventions were held either in Orlando or in Anaheim. And so I've been to Disney more as an adult, even without my kids, than I have been with my kids.
Which is fine too.
Which is totally fine. And
it's a completely different experience.
It's
so much fun.
It is. It is so fun, and it is a completely different experience. And I feel really lucky that I've been able to do that, and that I've been able to go with friends, and big groups of friends too, which is a different experience than like just going with a spouse or that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, it's all different kinds of experiences. And the trade show, CHA, Craft and Hobby Association, I think we've talked about that on this show before because I've been down there for it. And that's the show that it's in Anaheim almost every year.
Yep. And then previously I had done some Creating Keepsakes, an older scrapbook magazine. They would have these conventions in Orlando. And I think that probably I did 2 of them. And each of those times we would go in the evening. Like once our day was done, we would go over there for the evening time.
Which would be hard to only have that limited amount of time.
Yeah, but it was so worth it every time because it became the sort of thing where you ran.
Yes.
We would run. And we would only go on the things that we actually cared about, which was usually tended to be Splash Mountain and Space Mountain, in the Magic Kingdom. And that was so fun. Yeah. So I have great memories of that. I didn't, it didn't matter to me that we weren't there all day. It was like get the most out of it that you can for those rides that were the favorites sort of thing.
A little bit is better than
make you so efficient. You
I think so too. Yes.
You get what you need, and especially now with single rider, you're all over it.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that probably, let's see, I'm trying to think of it must have been that we were there at a time of year. I remember one time it must have been related to Halloween because it was like whenever the special Halloween, what is it called? Whatever the Halloween thing is called, where there's
the
like
Halloween
later
party?
Hours. Yeah, or something like that.
Which way, in Florida or Disneyland?
In Florida.
Okay, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween.
Yes. So it was, it would have been, I know that I've been there for that. And then also I've been there during the holiday time too, as well.
Fun.
There was, did the very, very very special. This is
very
how much.
Merry Christmas party.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Which were both really fun too.
Yeah. And they sound a lot alike too.
Yeah. I know.
The Not So Scary and the Very Merry and the
at night. Yes. That makes everything open later. That's what
exactly. And not as many people there.
And not as many people. Exactly right. Which, yes, for sure.
Yes. So share with us a little bit about how you've documented the different trips, because I know you've used kind of different processes for each one.
Yeah, I've done a couple different things. So I don't think that I've never done like an album or something like that off of those short trips, things that were just where it was just the adults. I probably have included them in one thing or another. The first big trip I took with my family. So when my son Simon was about 5, we went to Disney World, and that was in December. So early December we were there. And for that one, I decided to do an 8.5 by 11 scrapbook. And so let's see, I'm looking at it right now. It's super photocentric. So tons of photos, and is based kind of on themes. So as I was going through, my process for it was I got home and went through all of the photos and then kind of grouped them according to themes, which became things like the trains were a theme, arriving. Let's see, I'm looking through some of it. Just kind of the themes that had stories behind them, where I could write a little bit more related to each one, like going on his first roller coaster, riding with my sister. My sister was there for part of the time. So like there's one whole spread that includes just pictures, my son with pictures of my sister, and things like no thank you to poo was one of the pages. And so my son Simon has autism. And when we went on this first trip, there were definitely things that he was excited about and definitely things that he was very fearful of. And one of them was the characters, and he was definitely interested and he wanted to see them. But I kind of wrote, about that story and what that was like, and how that played a part in the whole experience as well. Lots about transportation, less very simple in terms of the design and all of those sorts of things, but lots and lots of photos, and then having a story related to each kind of section or theme.
And did you do this digitally, paper, or a photo book?
This one is all paper.
Okay.
So this would have been, I think, let's see, what year would that have been? He was born in probably 2007 is when this was. And so I don't know that I was really doing very much digital at that point in time. I got to think about it. I'm not sure. But I used a square punch on a lot of these photos. A lot of them, I printed them all as 4x6, and then I collaged many of them together. So on one side of the page, or one side of a spread, so a spread is 2 pages together, right? On one side, there would be one photo plus kind of a 4x6 space for journaling or writing the story. And then the page opposite of it would just be a bunch of different photos collaged together, kind of cut to fit into the space there.
Okay. And I'm thinking about, because I've seen some pictures of this older one on your blog. And you did some black and white photos too, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I usually do a mixture. And a lot of oftentimes I will choose black and white if the colors are really off on the pictures. Like if it's an evening picture or something like that, where it's just becomes really yellow, or I was trying to shoot inside, those kind of things.
Yeah.
There is some black and white. I'm kind of flipping through it as I'm talking too. But really, I mean, even compared to the things I do today, this has a lot of photos. There was a lot of like repeat photos too, or things that looked similar to one another, that I wouldn't necessarily put like 4 photos kind of the same thing. Today, I might not do that as much.
Do you remember if you were on a digital camera for that trip or if it was film?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Because I'm curious. I think that, now that we're all digital, I think we take more photos, but I also think that we're more picky about what we use because of it.
It must have been a digital camera. I'm pretty sure that it probably was. I know it wasn't a phone at that time, which would be like this last trip that I just took with my son this last week. It was almost all phone pictures compared to, I took my big camera, but it's too heavy.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
especially for a quick trip.
Too heavy. Yeah. For a quick trip, for sure, where we were moving around a lot. And it was, the iPhone was fine.
Yeah. For this album, did you do it all in one sitting, or was it, how quickly were you able to get
I had phases. Yeah, that's a good question. I had phases for this one because there were so many photos. There was probably, a couple hundred photos. So this was a week. I think we were there for a week. So a couple hundred photos.
I've done that within a few days.
Yeah.
So I might be underestimating.
You're on the low side, Allie.
A lot of photos. There were a lot of photos. And so it really was like the first process was just simply going through all of those photos
and them out. Yeah.
Weeding them out and then putting them into kind of themes, So it's not a chronological. It's not like this is day 1 and this is what we did on day 1 and day 2 and day 3. It's more story based. So as I looked through the photos and I grouped them together, I was like, okay, that's a piece of the story that I want to tell. Like my sister was there, or the riding in the stroller. I have there's a whole section about, and a bunch of different pictures of riding in the stroller and why we got the stroller. And then he had the guest assistance pass. So at that time, we had a whole thing, had a whole little write up kind of about that, and what that was like for him as well. So so the pictures were first, and then once I did all of the kind of organized those into these categories, then I sat down and just started going through it and assigning, like, okay, I know that this spread is going to be about Animal Kingdom, and here's what I want to write about it. And I wrote it out and then just adhered it down on the page, and then adhered the other photos down as well. Very, very few embellishments, very few extra stuff in this album. It's really
graphic.
Really graphic, yeah, and really focused on the photos more than a lot of other ones I've done too.
And did you use the same color, kind of a color theme throughout the whole album?
I did all the pages. I used just a piece of black cardstock for each of the pages that has the one photo and then the one journaling block. And then it had a little circle for the title of each one. So I had a repetition, definitely. Like I repeated the same thing throughout the entire with a little bit of variation. Mm-hmm. Black and white, this one had a lot of black and white, and it had some stamping, red ink, and then some orange ink. That was kind of the little pops of color that were added there as well.
And I'll include links in our show notes for this show so everyone can head over to your blog and see. You have several different posts where you've included Disney stuff.
Yes.
Over the years, I went through and pulled them all out. And so for the notes for this show, they will be at capturingmagic.me/7272, just the number. So you can see all of Allie's good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's talk.
What was it? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that album, one of the things that I really liked about that album was the way that I used repetition in it to really simplify the process. And it's something that I've thought about multiple times over the years since then, of like, it's such a great example of not making it very complicated. Yeah. Like I picked a format and then I followed that throughout the whole thing. That made it really easy, I thought.
I think there are 2 tips from this that I think people can take if they're trying to work on an album. And these Disney albums can be really overwhelming because there are so many photos and so many memories and stories that you want to tell. And the 2 tips that I think are so great is to use that repetition, decide on some colors that you're going to repeat throughout it, and even a layout design that you want to repeat, and then just stick to that. And then also just figure out what stories you want to tell and then pull the photos for those. Yeah.
Yeah, that it doesn't necessarily have to be chronological. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think especially for people that go multiple times too, or you have a different experience each time, doing something a little bit different is kind of fun and breaks it up too.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. I tend to always do mine with my family. I do them chronologically a lot, but it can become overwhelming really quickly. And even in my chronological albums, and when I tell other people to start with chronology, that's what I tell them to do, is break it down from there. What stories you want to tell, what stories are important to the trip, because you don't need to include every single meal if it wasn't important to the story.
No. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I do a lot of it.
Just thinking of that makes me just go, oh.
Yeah.
I do kind of break down by the land, the different areas. So it's not necessarily on day 1 we did this. It's kind of, here's all the pictures of us in Fantasyland, and kind of group them together that way.
It's a great idea too.
That makes sense too, for sure.
Yeah. There are definitely a lot of different ways you can do it, just depending on what works best for you. And I think that's the key, is figuring out what works best for you and is inspiring for you and not a roadblock.
Yes. To be able to get it done.
Yeah.
For sure.
How do you handle all the stuff, the memorabilia, the ephemera, the stuff that ends up in the bottom of your pocket and purse at the end of the trip?
I know about it. In this original album that I did, and it's one of the reasons that I liked the 8.5 by 11 size. This is a 3-ring binder album, and it has page protectors in it. So I literally just the stuff that I had printed out got slipped into the page protectors, like the confirmation from Disney or those sorts of things. I mean, I'm looking at it. It's not pretty, but it just, it holds the actual content of the things that it's just fun to have. This is, where we went and that sort of thing. And then I did like the maps. This one, I think the maps, well, yeah, I've got the maps in here. I just cut page protectors to fit the maps and stitched along the edge of them so that it would be like a custom size page protector for each map. So the maps then are included in here. There are that guest assistance card is in there. I'm trying to see what other sorts of things. At this point, like the stroller card, again, just cut a page protector to fit. So depending on, for this sort of thing, because it wasn't like a photo book. So if you're doing a photo book, then you'd have to have some different considerations, scanning or something like that to be able to include those in there. But in this case, because it's all just page protectors already, I was able to just make custom ones that were the right size and then slip those in there.
I think it's
I like
impressive.
Slipping it in.
Slide it on in there.
Slide it in. It's just easy, I just want to stick it in. And then I did a more recent one too in 2012, did another trip, and now I have 2 kids. So this was both my son and my daughter. And then we met my sister and her family there, as well as my nanny / who's my assistant now. She came too. She's another Disney fanatic. And so I'm working that album I'm actually working on. So that's a couple years ago that I just started working on. And it's a smaller sized one. It's a 6x8. And it also, again, though, is a ring binder with, this one has divided pockets in it. So different sizes, 4x6, 3x4. And I've just kind of started this one laying out the foundation for how it's going to flow. And I'm again doing story-based stuff, like looking through the photos and figuring out, okay, one of the big stories is my son getting to do the Jedi training. Like that was his main thing. So I'll probably have a few pages about Jedi training in there. Yeah. And then like what was Anna's favorite thing? She did the princess, the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. And so, there'll be some stuff about that in there as well. Again, less chronology and more about what's my perspective looking back at it now and what were the things that were really important.
Because I saw a post that you did on your blog about this, and it was so fascinating for me because you have a video in there where you kind of talk through your process of coming up with the stories and what you're going to do. And you put sticky notes in there to remind you of what products you want to use and all of that kind of stuff. Are you using the Simple Stories binder?
It is a Simple Stories binder. Yep. It's a Simple Stories binder. And then it is their Say Cheese line of products. At least that's what I'm starting with. I'll probably add in some other things as well. But it was a nice, there's definitely like die cut stars and some things I thought that were cute, dreams come true, those sorts of things that lend itself to this story. But I'll probably add some other things in there as well.
I'm sure you'll probably design some.
I probably
will be excited to see.
I was actually just thinking about that today. I was like, let's see. I don't have anything that's really related to this. Let's see.
Or sign me up for the Technique Tuesday stamps when those come out.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Some magic stamps.
Yeah. Let us know when you got the digital products and the Technique Tuesday products up, and we'll be
coming soon to a retailer near you. Yeah. No,
you need some beta testers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. What do you guys think? Can you give me some input? Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to doing this. That post was kind of related to a bunch of different travel albums that I have these intentions, or I have for the last few years, of some of the bigger trips that I've taken overseas that I'm going to do what I call Scrapbook on the road. And I'm going to document while I'm there. And I've taken printers with me and I've done all kinds of stuff. But the last couple of years, I have no interest in doing it when I'm actually there. Mm-hmm. Like I get there and I'm like, no thanks. Yeah. I'll just take the pictures and then I'll work on it when I get home. So I have kind of a backlog of probably, 6 to 8 travel albums that I would like to do. And this Disney one is one of them that I'm working on this year, and kind of my year of unfinished projects, most of which happen to be travel related things. So that was kind of the beginning of getting started on that.
Yeah, it was really interesting to watch your process of just breaking down the photos and how you're going to tell all of the different stories. So,
I think part of it for me too is like I don't remember chronologically what happened. You know, it's 2 years later, and so when I look at the pictures, like I sit here at home and I use Aperture for my photo management program, and I scroll back through all the pictures, and I'm like, okay, what are the things that stand out to me? You know, what 2 years later seems like it's the most important thing versus what did we do on the first day? Like I can't remember that.
Yeah, I know. I have to look at my photos too to figure all of that out.
Yeah.
In order. But one of the things that I really admire about you is you went in with these big ideas that you were going to do all this stuff on the road, which I think probably, I know I've done. And I've taken the printer with me, and then my daughter's sitting there, print out this picture, Mom. So I'm printing out pictures for her, and she's pasting and gluing, and I'm doing nothing because I'm the same way. It's not what I want to do at that time. But the thing that's so great is you don't beat yourself up over it. You're like, I didn't want to, no big deal, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
And now you're coming back to it and you're appreciating the perspective that you have now.
Yes.
About the trip.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yeah. Yeah. What are the feelings that jump out for me, and what are the, what do I remember about this trip? And especially, I mean, for me, there's all kinds of different things that go into it. I know for me, this was actually a trip that came right after my divorce was final. And so that when I look at the pictures, that's one of the things that jumps out to me. I don't know that I'll necessarily write about that, but I might. Like, Chris, my ex-husband, is missing now from these photos from this trip. What happened to him and where did he go and those sorts of things, and why we went at this particular time and why we made these choices. And it was actually a trip that we'd already planned in advance. But to me, it's so much more than just, this is our trip to Disney and this is what we did. I mean, there's all kinds of like life things that go into all of it, whether it's like Simon and having a hard time waiting in line, and how does that play into doing a Disney trip, and or the difference in my kids' interests and ages, and how does that play into it, and who were the other people that were there and why do they matter? Those are the kinds of stories that I'm more interested in, versus we went on, we did this ride and this ride and this ride. And even though like if there's certain things that stand out for me, like when we were there last week, Simon rode Star Tours like 6 times. And that's a ride I don't like.
I'm right there with you.
I actually won't even go on it because there is the part claustrophobia, part visual. I get sick.
That's why I'm like, for me, it's all motion sickness.
I just don't like it. So,
Is it now 3D? Because the last time I was down there, I couldn't go on it because I was about 30 plus weeks pregnant. So I got to go. We were with friends and had to go and take their daughter on the carousel.
Nice.
That's way more like, and I
haven't been on it since it's been redone. So I want to go on it. I was like, thanks.
3D in general, it's something about the visual piece for me. It's I just don't like it in general. But like that's his favorite thing. And so we actually had a couple friends that were there with us. And so they were, and were interested and wanted to go on it. And so they went on it with him, and I got to just sit and hang out and relax.
Nice.
But that's a piece of that story too.
Yeah.
Of, the different interests and things like that. So,
yeah. I know for me, one of the stories that I need to tell from our trips, you talk about the age differences, and I have a picture of, I have the age difference going on in my family. I was talking to you about it before we started recording. I've got a 17-year-old and an almost 14-year-old boy, and then my youngest is a 7-year-old girl. And I have a picture in Bugs Land of my kids waiting to ride Flix Flyers, and my youngest has ear to ear, huge grin on her face, and the older two are looking at me like, seriously? And that sums up how they felt about having to ride those rides with her.
Like, is this really necessary for our lives?
Yeah.
But it's an important part of our story in, our Disney experience, because really that's so often how it was when we were all together and why we split up as often as we did. And the husband would take the older two and I would take the younger one and go do the rides that don't make me sick.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's break down just a little bit. Where are you in your process on this album? Because we can go back and read that post on your site.
Yeah, it's actually, that is stopped in time. So what that post has where I'm at right now. And that's just because I have a million projects going on at once. So that it's actually part of the planning that I've done for this year is I'm doing some block scheduling to be able to specify time where I'm working on specific projects. So I've got hopefully starting that next week. It's almost February. We're getting close to starting our schedule for this year. To work on these. You
have a plan.
Projects. I totally have a plan, and we get closer to making it happen all the time.
CHA and everything kind of interrupts life.
That's right. I've got a million excuses. There's always another thing I'm saying yes to that I should say no to, so that I would actually create content. So what you see in that post is where I'm at right now. So I haven't made any additional progress on it. Basically what I did in that post is printed out some pictures and did like the main journaling that talked about how this was a surprise trip, which came from a specific blog post. So I just copied and pasted that into the album. And then, so the next thing related for me on this album is going to be printing out the rest of the pictures. And I really like to do some enlargements that are like 6x8 size pictures. And there are a few in there. When you look at the post, you'll see those. I think there's 3 in there right now. And I'll probably want to do some more of those that show different things. I blow different pictures up for different reasons. And then doing some of the writing, which I haven't really done yet, any additional stuff. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, which is fine. It's great.
Oh yeah. Trust me.
You're happy with it, yeah.
It's good. I'm just happy that I got it started.
Yes,
really.
That's half the battle. It really is.
So too, and establishing, having some sort of a plan for it, and then the next thing, just for me, is making time to actually do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the questions that I have, are you doing any documenting at all with your family over social media when you're there? I don't think you do you?
No, not really. I don't. Let's see. I'm trying to think. This time when I was there, so I've been there twice in the last 2 weeks, and I was there right after CHA.
I know.
CHA, I was like, when I was there, I was like, oh my God, I need to come back. And I need to bring Simon in. So this whole plan developed like in a week time. I mean, it was like within a week that I, booked. I had some miles and I used miles for the airplane, and then booked a room, and we stayed at the Grand Californian this time.
Oh, yay.
Which was amazing. Yeah. I had always wanted to stay there. And so, turned around, booked the tickets, and like within a week I was back down there. But I didn't do any, most of social media for me tends to be more business related. Versus, and I do personal sharing on there as well, but I wouldn't do a lot of personal sharing. Like you probably wouldn't see, I'm at Disneyland and here's like 25 pictures from us at Disneyland on Facebook. But I did do Instagram. I probably have maybe 10 pictures on my Instagram account, which tends to be a little more personal, of pictures while we were there.
Yeah. I saw some pictures from the play event when you were at Disneyland with Tracy.
Yes.
And the Disney sisters.
Did a few. That was super fun too, to be able to go with them.
Yeah, we've had the Disney sisters here on the show too, so our listeners are familiar with them. Cool. And so Tracy is she's one of the Disney sisters, and she's a good friend of yours.
Yeah, she's been a good friend for 6 or 7 years now, I think. Yeah, it's cool. It was fun to go with her too, and I've seen her a couple times when I've been down there, and we've met up one other time actually in the park too with our kids. So she came for that spring break. Yeah, it's fun.
So you probably aren't feeling like you need to pull too much documentation from your social media.
No, not generally, because I don't use it in that same way.
Right.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think that more and more I find that I am doing more perspective style journaling too, where it's not necessarily documenting everything. I mean, besides taking the pictures, I'm definitely taking pictures while I'm there, even if it's just with my phone or whatever. But then I'm going back as time has elapsed and actually doing the writing. I'm working on a post right now for my blog that talks about taking Simon and his birthday and those sorts of things. So that will probably begin whatever documentation I do on that. And that may just go in my Project Life album. I think when it's just a couple days, that's probably going to make the most sense to just put it in Project Life, which is another memory keeping system of stuff. So I don't know if you've talked about that before or not.
We've talked about it. Yeah, we have talked about Project Life on this show. And let's talk a little bit, because I know you've done that in the past. So let's talk a little bit about how you include some of that stuff in your Project Life.
Yeah, so the same that 2012 album that I'm working on, the 6x8 one, I actually did document it in Project Life, and I've had included a link for you there as well, where you can see that it's a week spread or a 2-page spread. And what I did is I just included 7 photos, and then in the 3x4 spaces, that one I actually did kind of more chronological of what we did. There's a Monday card and a Tuesday card and a Wednesday card and a Thursday card and a Friday and Saturday, or however, and we were there actually for a week. And so on each card, I just kind of jotted down the things that we did. So that would be a more kind of chronological or in the moment sort of thing of just the overview of what we did. And whereas what I'll put then in the album is going to be more the perspective sort of stuff, the longer stories or things that are more
the moments.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
It'll be more. It will just be more.
It will be more. Yeah,
there will be more.
Yeah, and let's explain a little bit. We probably need to do that again for new listeners. What Project Life is and how you're using it.
So Project Life is essentially. I always say, you always say it can be anything you want it to be, which is true. The way that I use it, it's a memory keeping system essentially that is rooted in divided page protectors. So a few years ago in scrapbooking, in traditional kinds of scrapbooking, people would use 12 by 12 size layouts or 8.5 by 11 size layouts, or they would do it digitally, usually in those same sizes or maybe an 8 by 8. And then Becky Higgins kind of, I don't even know what the right term is, promoted or marketed this system in a way that has really attracted a lot of attention within, I would say, the memory keeping scrapbooking world, of this idea of using these pocket pages. And people have done it lots of different ways. When it first started, I think a lot of people were doing like a 365 project or a photo a day project. And the idea is there's these pockets where you can easily slip 4x6 photos directly into these pockets. And then there are 3x4 pockets that could hold journaling cards or photos or whatever you wanted to put in there. So this is one of the main memory keeping systems that I've been using for the last few years, because it's very, it can be very much about daily documentation, and I like that part of it. So when I do it, I work on it a week at a time, and that would be like 2 pages facing each other. So what I call a spread. And when you look at one spread, those are all things from each 1 week in our life. Sometimes I do a photo a day. Most of the time it's just photos from the week and then random stories from the week, but it's encapsulated within this spread essentially. And how's that as an explanation?
That's excellent.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here thinking, wow, she does a really good job of just making sure that.
I'm like, okay, how can I break this down? And so, and now I think, there's lots of people now, they're like, I don't want to do it a week at a time. I want to have it be looser. And so people are experimenting with all kinds of other ways to do it, but I still do it weekly. But with low pressure. Yeah. Low pressure.
Yeah. Which also is a fabulous thing.
Yeah. Well, for me, this is part of my job. And so I do there's a lot of documenting happening. So it needs to still fit, but I'm way behind. Like I haven't finished 2013 yet. I'm still working on that. So it's all good.
Yeah. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Phone photos. So this last trip was mostly phone photos. And yes. Are you doing anything, using any apps or anything with them as you go along?
I use PicTap Go, which is from RadLab.
Love it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only one I use. Like I'm kind of a minimalist in a lot of these things. Well, you could argue that in some ways. But for phone apps, for sure. Like I don't want to have a lot of apps on my phone. So I pretty much my process would be I would take the picture, usually just using the camera app. And then if I wanted to post it on Instagram, which would be the main place where I would post things, I almost always run it through Pick, Tap, Go first. And I almost always use the lighten up or the lighter or whatever it's the first one of the first ones that comes up on there, just to basically make it lighter. And then I save it to my camera roll and then upload it to Instagram. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I use at home when I work on my computer and I'm printing out 4x6 photos, I use RadLab, which is their kind of partner, what they had before they even had the app. Again, usually using it to lighten things before I print them.
Are you
through
using
Photoshop?
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. 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 I still go in and pretty much everything still goes into Photoshop. I know that I can edit things in Aperture and I can change them around, but my process was established so long ago that that's just my flow, is to look at them in Aperture, pull it into Photoshop, edit it with RadLab, and then print it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's kind of what I think. Yeah.
Can you use RadLab in Aperture?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm not sure.
Because I know you can in Lightroom. That's my process. That used to be my process, was the same as yours.
Yeah.
And then when I started organizing all of my photos and everything in Lightroom, and I found out that I could use RadLab in Lightroom, I just started doing that.
I need to look. We need to check that out. See if we can use Aperture, RadLab in Aperture.
Yeah, it's
Note to self.
It's changed my Is note to self really mean note to Katie? Is that?
Well, I was with my assistant. I was looking at her and I was saying it out loud, but then I was also saying it to myself. And she's just laughing. She's like, "You're crazy." Because I usually talk to myself half the time anyway. And she'll look at me and she'll be like, "What?" And I'll be like, "I'm just talking to myself." Just saying it out loud just so I can hear what I just said.
So that you know it's been said.
Oh, yeah.
And you can hear it.
Oh, Lord.
It makes it more true, right?
Oh, yeah, every time. Way more true if I say it out loud. But yes,
I've heard this once. It must be true.
Yes,
I know, exactly. For sure. That's awesome.
Alrighty, did we miss anything of your Disney documenting that we want to?
No, I think those are those two albums are the main thing right now. I just love it. It's such a fun place, though.
It is.
Obviously people that are your listeners already know that. But I think there's lots of great stories that can come from those adventures that are not necessarily just we were in the park stories.
I totally agree. And I know a lot of people that have similar stories to yours as well, where they've, a new start, a new thing going on in their life. And that's where it starts, is at Disney. They take a break, go to Disney, and there's something healing about that place. I'll tell you what.
Well, and I think it's so just the playfulness of it and the magic that exists there. And I think one of the things that's interesting for me is that the difference between going by myself and then going with my kids. And I think one of the things that I miss when I go on my own is, even though I feel magic in my own way, and it's usually there's always something fun, and there's whoever the people that I'm with, there's the most amazing thing is watching those kids have that experience. I mean, you just can't, it's hard to beat.
It is. Those little people that you love so much.
But they just love it. That's just, it's so magic. So
we probably just sold a whole bunch of vacation packages right there.
Oh, I got to go again. Now I got to do a one-on-one trip with
Anna.
my daughter too. So, that's going to be,
Yeah.
Or we need to go to Disney World again anyway.
There you go.
One of those e-cards that was floating around, I saved it and think, let's go to Disney. The real world doesn't exist while we're there. And that's in itself is magic.
I agree with that. And I think that's part of the reason why, like, for me, I didn't do any work while I was there. Yeah. And, barely any of the social media, same thing, I mean, I was there to focus on being with him and having that experience. And, yeah, for sure. Totally.
Yeah. All right, let's do some picks with pixie dust then. Stephanie, do you have a pick?
Yes, I do. It is a phone app called Wonderful Days, and it's been around for a while. It's one of these things I kind of rediscovered as I was going through we won't say how many apps on my
delete. I just delete. I try it, and if I don't like it immediately, it's gone.
I delete it, but then it's still hanging out on iTunes. Yeah, on the computer. So, but it is a journaling app, and you can put in your photos from your your camera roll, and you can put. They have different background themes, and you can basically make like a little travel journal if you're out, or just your daily. And it'll also keep track of like anything that was geotagged. You can even put like, they have little mood stickers and what the weather was like. And so it's a good way to just kind of document on the fly. Yeah. And then you can also, I believe you can save them and export them as PDFs. So you could even just print them out, and you can also back them up to Evernote. So it's called Wonderful Days, and I actually just saw that I believe it's free right now. I don't know for how long. Because the reason why I have way too many apps on my phone is because I have apps gone free. Yes. So you get the list of free apps every day. And so I noticed yesterday that it was free. So I don't know how long that will last.
Have you exported to PDF on it?
I have not yet.
Okay. I'm on the hunt for my sister for an app where she can export with her journaling onto a 4x6. The photo and the journaling on a 4x6.
Could she maybe use Collect, I know, does the 3x4.
Mm-hmm. But she's tried that, but it only lets you do like the title or a caption, not the whole, like it's only one sentence basically, not all of your journaling. But yeah, because she is a project lifer in her real life in a very simple form where she's the super busy mom and doesn't have time for a lot. So she just prints out batches of pictures at a time, and she and her kids sit down and shove them in pockets together and write about them.
I think that is so awesome.
Yes, I do too.
I want to do it that way.
We actually did last year. We did a Project Life staycation here at our house, and I printed out a whole bunch of pictures, and everybody, that's what we worked on. And it was so awesome. My oldest daughter got over 120 pages done.
Yeah. That's so awesome. I think that there's so many amazingly awesome pieces about it. That is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I wrote about it actually on Becky's blog. If you want to go to Becky's
I'll totally
blog,
look at it.
Our listeners want to go there and check it out. It's all of the information that I used for our staycation. It was fun. The kids still talk about it. It's been almost a year.
Yeah, because it's super meaningful family time, memories.
Yes. And my 7-year-old pulls her big 12x12 binder out and lugs it into the family room all the time, and we'll sit and look through it with her Disney stuff in there, because that's all she wanted to do was Disney, and so she did Disney. But anyway,
I love it.
So fun.
Very cool.
Okay, Allie, do you have a pick?
I do have a pick, and I'm going with the easy pick, which is that Say Cheese line from Simple Scrapbooks. Not Simple Scrapbooks. You guys know what I mean.
I know. I can never. Yes, thank you. I can never remember their name.
I know. Simple Stories. Yes, and just I think for people, it would be an easy way to document a Disney trip. Especially using the 3x4 and the 4x6 pockets, and everything's already done for you. It's great. So.
Yeah, I think so too. They've even got some autograph books and stuff that are already made for you.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
So cute.
Yeah, super cute.
My pick is it's a pin on Pinterest that will lead you to a post from the How To Mom for making Elsa and Anna capes. And I will tell you, I'm not a seamstress. I don't sew at all. I hate it. I do not enjoy it, but I can do a straight line. And that's all these require is a straight line. And they're so cute. And she talks about how much her little girls have loved them. And I know every little girl right now is Frozen, Elsa, and Anna crazy. So if you...
It is happening here for sure.
Yes.
Soundtrack over and over again.
Yeah.
Katie plays into it.
Yeah, we all do.
I actually haven't seen it yet.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I know. Well, Chris, my old partner, he took the kids to see it, and then when Simon and I were at Disneyland, then Katie took Anna to see it again. So I need to get. Yeah.
Just go. Just take them and
go. I know.
Yeah, I've seen it 3 times in the theater. Oh. And my kids have too. So they can go 3 times. It won't kill them. Yeah.
Oh, I'll totally go.
Yeah. It's so really good. Cute. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this is a super easy cape. All you have to do is buy a yard and something fabric, do a straight seam and gather, and you're good to go. I can even handle that. So I think anybody can if I can, for sure. Because I don't sew. But,
I don't either. I sew paper.
Yeah. and you sew page protectors, obviously.
I do sew page protectors. Again, straight stitch.
Yes.
There's not a lot happening.
That's all this is a straight stitch. So I will link up to that. And that's, let's go around and remind our listeners where they can find all of us and all of your great posts too, Allie. Stephanie.
You can find me at Capturing Magic and over at Haining Made.
You've got lots of great paper piecing projects and stuff there.
Yes.
People can order stuff from you.
Yes, been playing. I had somebody actually ask me if I'd ever done any of the land signs. I was like, no, but that sounds like fun. Let me play with paper and fonts.
There you go. Your favorite thing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Allie.
Mine, you can find me at allieedwards.com. And I think if you even just do Disneyland search in the little search bar, that will bring up some of those posts as well, as I know that you're going to have them linked as well.
Yes. I did a search on Disney and found just lots of stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's what I did too. Yeah. To find them. So.
Yeah. And I will link up to them as well, but people can head straight over there if they want to and do a search and find everything. Yeah. Do you have anything? You got any new classes coming up? You're doing one now, aren't you?
Yeah, right. Well, I've got a few things happening. One of the classes that I've done for the last few years is called One Little Word. And it's not really scrapbooking. It's more personal development sort of stuff. So people pick a word for the year, and then we do monthly reminders and creative prompts once a month. So that one is happening. And then I have a couple at Big Picture. There's one that's going on right now called 31 Things. That's mainly a journaling class. I think the registration might have closed for that one. But I also have a big one coming up called Hello Story that ran last year at Big Picture classes. And we'll be running again starting in April. It's a 12-week in depth in terms of lots and lots of video, and you could watch my process for making every page. And it was a crazy video heavy class.
Fun.
But super interesting.
Yeah. One other thing that we ought to mention too is that I got to see, I saw that you did a thing with Brene on Oprah's class.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't kind of forget about that. Yeah. Brene, she's a very dear, special friend of mine too. And she's doing an online class with Oprah that's actually running. I think it's running again.
Is it?
On her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And so she had me come and do a little thing about photography as a way of practicing gratitude. So I have a segment in her class on that.
Really exciting.
Yeah,
Very
super cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so people can find that at Oprah.com.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
You're everywhere. It's so exciting.
I don't even know what I'm doing. Just hanging out. I'm hanging out. That's what I do.
You're scrapbooking.
Scrapbooking. Well, no, I'm not though. I need to be. I keep saying I'm going to, and I want to.
Yes,
but
I know.
You get into it. Eventually, it becomes the business of the business.
Yes.
So a lot of what I have been working on, it feels like for this last year, especially, has just been business, the business of the business.
Yeah.
All, and I'm like, when am I going to blog? When am I going to, I don't know. So
getting back to, I'm hearing that a lot from people that are in the business is that they are getting back to scrapbooking this year. That's their year for.
Yeah. And that's, for me, I did that Hello Story class. I did 31 new layouts. So traditional scrapbook layouts, plus a whole bunch of project life ideas for each week. So I did a ton of scrapbooking for that class, which that's one of those things where it feels weird because I actually did do a lot of scrapbooking last year compared to years past, compared to recent past. But the only way you see it is if you're in the class. So or like, oh, you don't scrapbook anymore. And I'm like, no, I just did all this work and I did all these videos, so it's just, like I said, it's kind of, finding a new structure for scheduling my time so that I don't spend an hour on Pinterest.
So that's where we won't be finding you, is Pinterest.
No, but that's part of the business.
It is, isn't it?
It's a combination of all of those things. And they're so, I go on there and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. I see all these great ideas and And then I'm like, dude, content creation, implementation, get on it. Schedulization. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Who knows? I got all kinds of good plans. We'll see.
Yeah. Alrighty. I am Steph. You can find me at capturingmagic.me, where we are doing Disney documenting all of the time. And then you can also find my other 2 podcasts, The Digi Show and The Daily Digi Digest, by searching in iTunes or Googling or Stitcher. We're on Stitcher now. Hey, Capturing Magic is on Stitcher now too. So check out your favorite players for the podcast if you would like to listen to me that much in one week. I don't know why you would, but if you want to, go ahead. And yeah, okay. Thank you, girls, for being here. I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
Thanks so much.
We'll be back.
You.
Yeah, we will be back here next time, where we will be capturing magic.